everyone, 안녕하세요. Hola, I'm Korean Kiwi. So in Western culture, what normally happens when you meet someone for the first time is you say, hi, nice to meet you, what's your name? But in our culture, we first have to establish who is in which position or rank. Korean culture, it's quite normal to be like 안녕하세요, so that's like a greeting, a hello, directly followed by 몇 년생이세요? So you're asking them, what year were you born? Western culture, that might be considered quite rude because your age is something that's a little bit private. But in our culture, it's necessary because we have to establish who is in which position or which role or which order of rank. It can get silly to the point that even a baby that's born in December 2020 is considered older and higher ranked than a baby that's born in January of 2021. For those of us who live in Western society, that's completely strange and completely different. You'll even see parents put twins and triplets in order of who is the oldest and who is the youngest, when the difference is a matter of minutes. So with Korean relationships, there's a sunbae and a hubae. The sunbae is the person in the higher position, which is someone who usually is older or has more experience. Now it might seem like that the person in this sunbae position is automatically in a better standing, but the way that it works is it's very much like a two-way street. So the person in the younger position, the hubae, their job or their role is to be completely respectful towards the sunbae. You never question them or argue directly with them, and you would do things like use the higher, more honorific form of our language, and you basically have to take a submissive or passive stance on most things. Now, the sunbae, although it seems like that their role or position is unfair, it actually works quite well because the person in the leading or the higher position is expected to take care of the person or people below them. So an example of that is when you go to dinner with someone who's older than you, the sunbae or the older person typically picks up the bill, so they will pay to make sure that you are fed and looked after. So in most cases, age is the most important factor in determining the hierarchy and who is above and below. Whoever's older is usually in the higher position. If you're born in the same year, generally you're considered equal, and people will even get excited and be like, oh, we're friends, 친구네. But where it gets a little bit more complicated is that, for example, if you're at work or a university, whoever's been in that role for longer or been studying longer than you, they are considered your sunbae, so your superior, so the more dominant person, even if they are younger than you. Because this can be confusing, even for Korean people, what businesses typically tend to do is they will hire someone older for the higher roles. That way there's a clear-cut line between who is the superior, who's the sunbae, and who is the hubae. And as you can imagine, this causes problems. Younger people don't like this because the person who is right for the role might not be selected. A really extreme case of hierarchy being a problem in the workplace in the late 90s, what was happening was that Korean Airlines and Juliano were finding that for an airline with great technology, great airplanes, well-trained pilots and staff, that they were having a high number of incidents or crashes. The companies hired a third party to investigate what was going on And I think that the black boxes were looked into and some other things like that. So what they found was maybe there was too much reliance on the technology, but another factor was a cultural one, which was to do with the Korean hierarchy. So a situation might be that the pilot is very relaxed and he's relying on the technology and he thinks everything is fine. And the co-pilot might have noticed something that's worth investigating. Or worse, he's very aware that there is imminent danger. So for any Western person, when you know that there's danger, you'd waste no time to try and angle it in a nicer, more polite way. However, I think what was going on was that the co-pilot would have to angle and say things in a nicer, polite way. So instead of being like, we're about to crash into a cliff, they would have to be a lot more diplomatic and poised and say something along the lines of, excuse me sir, I think you should maybe consider having a look at this here. Before anyone goes freaking out and thinking that you can't fly with these airlines, don't worry, these are things of the past, more than 20 years ago. Korean Air and Asiana are unbeatable in service and very, very safe to fly with. I hope I brought some kind of justice to kind of explaining this hierarchy system. It's quite complex and hard to explain. Thank you for watching my video. I hope you learned something new today. Please like and subscribe. Until next time, 안녕!